A cap on property taxes, it's the #1 priority for voters in New York. According to last month's Quinnipiac poll, 4 out of 5 New Yorkers favor the idea. And Governor Andrew Cuomo has launched a big push to get it passed by the full legislature.
But the cap will put the odds in favor of the taxpayer, and they deserve it, because the deck has been stacked against the taxpayers for too long.
The bill calls for limiting property tax increases to 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. Voters would be able to override the cap with a 60% majority. Under the Cuomo plan, certain expenses are exempted, such as the cost of construction and legal settlements. The Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association has warned the cap would trigger more layoffs and hurt the local economy. So the plan has been passed by the Republican-controlled state Senate, but is stalled in the Democratic-controlled Assembly. Now, once again, we contacted all our Assembly Democrats here on the island to come and talk about this tonight with us, but none of them accepted our invitation to appear on tonight's program. But in the studio with me once again, Long Island's State Senator John Flanagan, who is chairman of the Education Committee, and with me again, Gary Bixhorn, who is Chief Operating Officer for Eastern Suffolk BOCES, and listening from our newsroom is Newsday senior education writer John Hildebrand. Senator Flanagan, why did you vote for it? Why do you think a tax cap will work?
I think a tax cap is incredibly important. You heard 80% of the public supports it. We have to change the way we're doing business. And I want to be very clear. We also, in the state Senate this year, we passed a spending cap at the state level. I don't think it's fair to ask people at the local level to do things that we won't do at the state level. So spending cap at the state level. We actually reduced spending this year. The property tax cap is important because people are dying. They are choking on their property taxes. And we can discuss all the reasons for the high property taxes, but the bottom line is, unless we get it under control, people are going to start leaving here in droves.
Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, property tax overdependence is real. Long Islanders spend about 65% more on their gross household income on property taxes than New Yorkers in general. The property tax, even when it was initially proposed, was thought to be a blunt instrument, and that's exactly what it is. And our concern is that there could be unanticipated consequences. Especially, one of the issues we have on Long Island is the gap between our wealthy and poor districts. And I think one thing that our research has shown consistently is that a property tax cap will expand that gap. And one of the priorities we've had is trying to promote educational equity across Long Island. And I think the cap, to a certain extent, is going to make that much more difficult. The other big issue that we see is, communities have the right, and communities on Long Island have made tremendous investment in education over the years. And we believe that they should continue to have the opportunity to decide what kind of programs they want to offer. If a cap is going to be imposed, we believe it should be imposed after the community's had an opportunity to vote on the educational program by a vote on the budget. All
right, in the News 12 Long Island newsroom right now, we have Tom Suozzi, former Nassau County executive who chaired the New York State Commission on Property Tax Relief. Mr. Suozzi?
Hi, Lee.
There? Good to see you. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in tonight. You chaired that committee for Governor Patterson, and when you turned over the results, what did you find when it came to a property tax cap?
Well, we need a property tax cap here in New York State. We have the highest local taxes in America, and on Long Island it's property taxes and it's school taxes. And there's a lot of wonderful debate going on here tonight, and there's a lot of very good points being made by good people on different sides. In fact, it's probably confusing for a lot of your viewers. But the bottom line
is... It's a complicated issue.
It's a very complicated issue. But whatever we do, no matter what else we do, we have to stop the growth of property taxes because it's crushing senior citizens on a fixed income. It's crushing new families. It's crushing people who can least afford to pay this regressive tax that keeps on going up year after year. People can't take it anymore.
When it comes to the New York State, Association of Counties, they believe that based on the average annual growth in one of their reports they released, a lot of the mandated programs are going to require counties to pay an additional $279 million for state programs. So they're not so sure that caps are the way to do this.
Well, there's no question that one of the big reasons our property taxes are so high is because the state pushes mandates down to the local level. There's no question we need mandate reform. In the report that we conducted as the New York State Commission on Property Tax Relief, we had about 35 recommendations for mandate relief. The problem is you won't get that mandate relief until you get the property tax cap. The cap will force the entire local community to direct their anxiety where it should be, not at the local level fighting with each other, but to the state of New York to fight for that mandate relief.
All right, let's go to one of our viewers now. Frank is calling in. Frank, where are you calling from?
Massapequa.
From Massapequa here?
Yes.
All right, what's your opinion on a property tax cap?
I think it's just a window to find some room to raise taxes again. The problem is, as Mr. Swazi says, as everybody's saying, we are overtaxed. Let me just give you my example. This year, 2011, my school taxes went up $1,000, 10%. My property taxes went up $600, 15%. And Mr. Perry, who represents me on my assessment, took another $800. I am a senior citizen. I am retired. And I am going to pay $2,400 more this year. Who is kidding who? Let me reflect back on the superintendents. How many superintendents are there in New York City? And how many children do they supervise? And look at the taxes in New York City. My brother-in-law lives in New York City. Yeah. He pays 60% less in taxes than I pay here.
Frank, a lot of good points there. I want to see if we can address some of them. Senator Flanagan, when you compare us to New York City, as Frank did, are we comparing apples and oranges? Can we do that? Yeah.
In some respects we are, but we have a fundamental obligation. I believe that New York State's primary obligation is a good, solid education for all students. New York City has 1.1 million students. They're very unique in their own way. But in reality, if you look at our communities, why do people live where they live? In large part, it's because of the schools. I love the city of New York. I don't want to live there. People come out here. I live in the Northport community. Gary lives in the Northport community. We settle in areas largely because of the schools, and that's a good thing. And that shouldn't change. We want to try and find ways that are going to help.
But what happens when you get to the point that you can't handle your tax bill going up by $1,000 every year because your salary's not, and heaven knows the value of your home is not what it used to be?
It goes right back to what we started the conversation with. We need a tax cap. We need to reform the way we do business in Albany further than it's already done. And I agree with Tom Swazi that there has to be very meaningful, substantive mandate relief. And Leah, you mentioned before the Albany Democrats. The state Senate has been very out front on mandate relief on a lot of different levels. The Assembly Democrats have not only done nothing, they've offered nothing. So the dialogue and the debate has to change, and people have to be held accountable for their inaction as well as for the actions that they take.
Gary, how crushing can the mandates be for a school district?
The mandates drive tremendous expense for the school districts. Earlier we used the example of the ongoing layering on of mandates. And the problem with mandates is mandates are usually implemented for good reason. That's usually in response to a real need. But what happens is they build on top of each other and the costs just continue to escalate. If you look at the special education mandates, and there's been a lot of attention to them since all the discussion mandate relief has started. You know, it started with the federal mandate in the IDEA legislation, but now there are over 200 state regulations that go beyond federal mandates, and each one was put in for good reason, but it's that layering on that's very difficult.
Tom Swazi, did you see anything suggested by your commission implemented at all, or was this whole report kind of just placed aside?
Well, the main recommendation was the property tax cap, and it's gotten a lot more attention since the report was issued, and people have started talking more about mandate relief. The bottom line is it mandates? Is it teachers' salaries? Is it administrators? Is it too many school districts? Is it pensions? Is it health insurance? It's all those things. You will not get the complicated reform you need until you first cap the property taxes.
Mario, are you there listening? Mario, our caller's there. Mario, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, go ahead. What's your thought on what we've been discussing?
Yeah, the signal is breaking up a little bit, but can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, as I'm getting closer, I have a couple of quick comments and then a solution. As I get closer to my 60s...
Did I just lose Mario there as he got closer to his...
Hello?
Hello, Mario. There you go. As you got closer to your...
Oh, okay. As I get closer to my 60s,
okay,
I'm starting to see, through the years I've been paying these school taxes, and I've seen them go up exponentially. And the thing that I kind of see with this is it's just a very uncomfortable feeling to have to concern myself every year about an unknown like this, where it can go 6, 7, or 8% or at 3%, a cap would be at least some idea of where we're going with this. I find that a lot of the supervisors, superintendents, even the arrogance of that individual just before saying, well, then, you're going to have the quality of Oregon. It's very disheartening.
I believe he said, yes.
My money never goes in taxes that I pay, never go down. It goes up every year. That's a guarantee.
All right, Mario, let me address one point that you made. He made a point, Senator Flanagan, saying at least with a property tax cap, that unknown, that uncertainty that kind of hangs over your head every year wouldn't feel so terrible. You might feel like there's a target to aim at.
I couldn't agree more. And because of a lot of different factors, including the status of our economy, people are paying a lot more attention. And that's a good thing, and that should raise a level of debate. But Lee, let me just quickly add, we need to do many other things. We don't do economic development well enough in the state of New York. If we created jobs and controlled spending and got rid of mandates and regulations that kill business, that'll help create jobs, which will create revenue, which will help drive money back to our local schools in the form of state aid.
And high property taxes can keep businesses out of New York State. That's another issue.
Not even a question.
All right, thank you both. I appreciate it.